Hi, welcome to another video from Project Ride the Pennines. Today we're going to be topping up sealant in a tubeless tyre. You can top the sealant up through the valve stem, but I'm using the Stan's race sealant, which has got pretty big crystals inside it, which do a really good job of sealing holes, really big holes, but they mean that the syringe tube often gets blocked or the crystals get stuck in the valve stem there. So actually what we need to do is just pop the tyre off a little bit, pop some sealant in there and then seal it again. Obviously you're going to need a tyre, the wheel that you're changing. You're going to need some tyre levers to do this. You're going to need a floor pump, some gloves to protect your hands, and your chosen sealant. So first of all, we need to let all of the air out of the tyre. Now I should add that this is going to be more tricky on this tyre because it's got a Victoria Airliner tubeless insert in there, which is a piece of foam that sits inside the tyre, helps prevent pinch flats and some of the punctures, but it means that the tyre is held out, so it's hard to get it off the rim because it's actually keeping it away from that middle channel. If this was just tubeless with no insert, you'd squeeze the inside, squeeze the bead of the tyre into the channel in the middle and should be able to pop off. So it's usually a little bit more tricky to do this with tubeless tyres that have got a tubeless insert. So we'll see how we get on. Make sure all the air's out, that's good. Now what we're going to try and do is at 1 or 2 points just break the seal of the tubeless sealant that's already in there, that's dried out, but it's probably stuck quite well against the rim. So I'm just going to try and do that now. So just pushing that with your thumb, and hopefully you can see that in there I've actually managed to get it away from the rim there. There's actually a gap there. Now you don't want to do this all the way around because you're only going to crack the tyre off a little bit, but you do need to be able to do it enough to get some of the tyre off the rim. So you don't want to do it all the way around because you've got a good seal with some of that, but pushing quite hard with both thumbs gets it in there. So once you've got the edge of the tyre, the bead of the tyre away from the rim, a little bit of a section, probably about, I don't know, 30 centimeters around, just gives you enough space to work with. And you can actually see that if I roll the tyre back there, it's starting to pop up as well, which is helpful. So going to get the tyre lever under the rim, in the rim under the bead, and try and hook that out, which you can see I've done there. It's actually hooked right under the bead. Now the trick is I've got to get that, do the same thing a little bit further along with another tyre lever, and that's where the tubeless insert really makes life difficult, because at this point it is resisting my efforts to do that. It's actually designed to hold the tyre on the rim to stop a burp if you did go around a corner really quickly as well. One way you can do this is just to wiggle the tyre lever in next to the other one, but you have to be careful because if you do this and your hand slip, you can then end up wrenching your knuckles. Now the thing to remember is we only need, there we go, it slipped off. The thing to remember is that we only need a very small gap into which to pour the tubeless sealant. So actually making a particularly big gap is not really necessary, just enough that we can trickle some of the sealant into, and then it also makes it a lot easier to put it back once we've managed to do that, because that's obviously a really important part of this as well. So just using my thumb just to lever this along a little bit. I've got a nice little gap now. Should hopefully be able to see there. We've got a little gap just in where I can start to pour some of the sealant. Now, this is where you need 2 pairs of hands. So I'm going to get this ready. Now the sealant can come out quite quickly, and it's not very nice stuff. The solvent that it's in is ammonia, so you definitely don't want to get it in your eyes. You might choose to wear goggles and protect your eyes. Invariably the nozzle of the tub is round the wrong way, so I tend to do this a little bit more open. What we've got to do now is actually try to gently pour a little bit of sealant at a time into the gap you've made. Now the difficulty is if you pour too much, the crystals actually block the hole that you've made, or block the gap you've made, and fill it up. So you need to do it gently, a little bit at a time. I find it helpful to pour a little bit against the rim, let it drain in, then you might want to roll the tyre gently to allow some of that sealant to just circulate around. It's worth remembering on the airliner inserts there are holes at various points on the insert that allow the tubeless sealant to go from the channel on the inside to the channel on the outside. If you want to see a video on how to fit a Vittoria airliner, a little bit more information, we've got one of those. I'll link to that in the description below. Just put a little bit more in. It's a fairly goopy, gloopy liquid, which is obvious because it's got the crystals in that you want to seal it. So we just let that roll down and around. Now, depending on the size of the tyre, the width in particular, and the type of use you're going to do will govern how much sealant you want to put in. I'm giving a rough idea on this one. The Stan's bottle actually has a scale on the side of it, which is pretty helpful, so you can see where you're putting what you're putting in, what you're not. I'm going to let some more of this roll down. Invariably you spill some in places, so it's worthwhile having a cloth nearby to be able to wipe those up. That's going in quite nicely. Sometimes I need another tyre lever to just poke through to break any air gaps or anything that's there. Sometimes you can get a bit of an air pocket in there. Oops. You want it to come out. I'll actually roll it round. The way to get the sealant to go from the inner channel to the outer channel is to roll round the wheel and bounce the tyre gently so that the sealant goes round. You can see now it's nowhere near the top. It's not actually coming out at all. Hopefully by the time, there we go, so most of that's gone through. There's no longer any pouring out of that little gap, so I'll be able to top up a little bit more sealant. The thing to remember is you have to be quite patient doing this. Otherwise exactly that happens and you spill a little bit. But if you are patient, you can actually do this quite easily without having to wrestle the tyre off the rim itself, which is really quite time consuming and quite difficult when you've got the tyre insert in. It's not impossible, but it just requires a bit more force and a bit more time. You can hear I'm just knocking the tyre gently on the bench there. Anyway, once you've got that in, pop the lid back on your sealant. Next thing to do is just to release the tyre, let it go back in. You can actually use the tyre lever at this point to help push it back under the rim. And this is where, with the airliner again, it's not quite so easy because you can probably get quite messy doing this, which is why I'm wearing gloves, because the ammonia is not great. But you can then hopefully just pop the tyre bead back on to the rim itself. And that's what we're aiming for, is to have a really nice and easy reinstall of the tyre, not having to fight it to get it back on and get it off. The other thing is it should seal fairly quickly, because realistically only this part of the tyre actually came unsealed, so the other should still have some of the latex in there from when it's sealed initially. So I'll just clear up some of that latex sealant, then a bit of a wipe down. Now, our next stage is to pump the tyre up. So I'm actually going to try with just the pump to start with. And to peak pump is quite nice because it actually goes up there. So I'm just going to pump this up now. Let's get that down there. And I can feel it straight away. It's not coming out. It's actually made a good seal again. It may make a quick pop as it seals against the rim around that far side. I can see already I'm starting to be able to build some pressure. We've got a pressure gauge on the pump. It's already building up quite nicely. I tend to pump it a little bit harder than I need, just to allow the air to be forced out. Now if we take the valve off, we can see there's a little bit of sealant that's leaked out there. Give it a good shake. You can hear the sealant going all the way around. I'll do this on the floor as well to really bounce it through those holes in the airliner. And there we go. Finally, last thing to do, clean the wheel itself, and now it's ready to be reinstalled. If you like the video, please click like, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I'll see you again.